Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 6:30 p.m. and a quorum of members is present, so the meeting of the Board of Education of the School District New Berlin is called to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby. Here. Mr. David.
Here.
Mr. Kugler. Here. Mr. Kurth.
Yes. Please call the
Ms.
roll.
Manley. Here. Mr. Maxey.
Here.
Mr. Nickerson.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session.
Mr. President, I move to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, 1C, E, and F of the Wisconsin statutes to consider C, employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the Board of Education has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, the conducting of other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And F, financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personal problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons which, if discussed in public, would likely to have the substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations. Board will discuss or possibly take action on the approval of closed session minutes of January 25th and January 28th of 2016. B, employment, performance, and compensation matters pertaining to staff. C, negotiation strategies.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby. Yes. Mr. David.
Yes.
Mr. Kugler.
Yes.
Mr. Kurth.
Yes.
Ms. Manley.
Yes.
Mr. Maxey.
Yes.
Mr. Nickerson.
Yes. We'll be adjourning to closed session, returning to open session around 7 p.m.
Nobody take my shoe.
Dancing on the tailgate in the full moon, that kind of thing makes a man go, You're looking so good in what's left of those blue jeans. Drip of honey on the money maker, gotta be the best buzz I'm ever gonna find. Hey, I'm a little drunk on you and high on summertime. Let's slip on out where it's a little bit darker, and when it gets a little bit hotter, we'll take it off on out in the water. And when it gets a little bit hotter, girl, you make my speakers go boom boom. Dancing on the tailgate in the full moon, that kind of thing makes a man go You're looking so good in what's left of those blue jeans. Drip of honey on the money maker, gotta be the best buzz I'm ever gonna find. Hey, I'm a little drunk on you and high on summertime. Yeah, I'm a little drunk on you.
my little sandy town. She spent the summer there, my little sandy town. A couple houses down. She spent the summer there. Well, there was magic in the air. A couple houses when she caught my eye. Well, there was magic. We shared 3 short months and one long goodbye. She was the one that got away, the one that wrecked my heart. I should have never let her go. I should have begged her to stay. She was the one that got away. Yeah, the one that got away. Well, she kissed my lips down on Ocean Drive. She set my world on fire on the 4th of July. We wrote our names in the sand under the star-set sky, but it washed away like she did with a rising tide. She was the one that got away, the one that wrecked my heart. I should have never let her go. I should have begged her to stay. She was the one that got away. Every summer rolls around, I'm looking over my shoulder, wishing I could see her face, wishing I could hold her. She was the one that got away, the one that wrecked my heart. I should have never let her go. I should have begged her to stay. She was the one that got away. Yeah, she was the one that got away. Yeah, she wrecked my heart. I should have never let her go. I should have begged her to stay. She was the one that got away. She was the one that got away. She rolled in my little sandy town. She spent the summer there, a couple houses down there, a couple houses down there.
Greater Milwaukee Golf Show, presented by Wisconsin Classic Golf Tour, is March 11th through 13th at State Fair Park. Everyone gets a free round of golf at Old Hickory. First 1,000 attendees each day get a free sleeve of balls. Try for $10,000 from the On-Tall Long Putt Contest or a car from Lexus North Shore and Brookfield. And buy tickets at GreaterMilwaukeeGolfShow.com for your chance at 25 Golfsmith dollars. And buy tickets at GreaterMilwaukeeGolfShow.com for your chance at 25 Golfsmith dollars.
Got the gas, I got the matches. We gonna turn this town to ashes. 'Cause they ain't never seen nothing like us. Ain't heard loud till we turn it up. I got the wild, you got the crazy. You know that's why I love you, baby. 'Cause your motor runs just as fast as mine. Pedal to the metal, keep the throttle down all night. And we only get one life. Ain't scared to ride this train. Make a few marks, leave a few stains. Might slam just a little too hard. Might take it just a little too far. Might burn out like a firework, like a shooting star across the sky. Yeah, we may not be around in 20 years, but they sure gonna know we were here. They sure gonna know we were here. Girl, you know damn well, when they got a good tale to tell, let's give them something they ain't never seen. A little rated R redneck dream. Let's blaze a trail through the dirty South. Give them something they can talk about. A little story that they won't forget. Long after we ride off into the sunset, baby, 'cause we ain't dead yet, baby. Ain't scared to ride this train. Make a few marks, leave a few stains. Might slam just a little too hard. Might take it just a little too far. Might burn out like a firework, like a shooting star across the sky. And we may not be around in 20 years, but the show gonna know we were here. We only get one chance around this runaway roller coaster train, and it ain't slowing down. So baby, they're gonna remember our name. Scared to ride this train. Make a few marks, leave a few stains. Might slam just a little too hard. Might take it just a little too far. Might burn out like a firework, like a shooting star across the sky. And we may not be around in 20 years. No, we may not be around in 20 years. The show gonna know we were here. Yeah. The show gonna know we were here. Woman is a mystery. Man just can't understand. Sometimes all it takes to please her is a touch of your hand. And other times you gotta take it slow and hold her all night long. Heaven knows there's so many ways a man can go wrong. Must be doing something right. I just heard you sigh. You leaned into my kiss and closed those deep blue need you eyes. Don't know what I did to earn a love like this, but baby, I must be doing something right. Anywhere you wanna go, baby, show me the way. I'm open to suggestions. Whatever you say. Tonight's about giving you what you want, whatever it takes. Girl, I hope I'm on the right road, judging by the smile on your face. Must be doing something right. I just heard you sigh.
in stereo. Tail lights disappearing about a mile or so down the county road. Phone blowing up where you is. Baby saying, baby, let's do this. Rocket in a bottle with a fuse lit. About to lift it off, I'm about to twist it off. Lime on the river and Dixie silver smoke. Get up and fade out 4x4. Girls heading off to the river, yeah, Victoria's Secret. Ain't a secret no more. I brought the songs and who brought the party on. They want a way to do it up right. Everybody goes where everybody knows that anything goes on a Friday night. Get your party right. It's a Friday night. Get your party right. It's a Friday night. The radio ain't nothing but a masterpiece. Swaying and sipping that dose of keys. Losing yourself in the big loud beat. Nothing but heat. Come on. Somebody's rocking that bang box. Everybody hitting that sweet spot. Nobody minding that tick-tock. Getting all locked in with all my friends. I'm on the river and Dixie silver smoke. Get up and fade out 4x4. Girls heading off to the river, yeah, Victoria's Secret. Ain't a secret no more. I brought the songs and who brought the party on. They want a way to do it up right. Everybody goes where everybody knows that anything goes on a Friday night. It's a Friday night. Get your party right. It's a Friday night. Alabama on the boombox, baby. About to get a little boondock crazy. Hop on, it's a hell of a ride. 'Cause anything goes on a Friday night. Alabama on the boombox, baby. About to get a little boondock crazy. Hop on, it's a hell of a ride. 'Cause anything goes on a Friday night. Who brought the party on? They want a way to do it up right. Everybody goes where everybody knows that anything goes on a Friday night. It's a party right. It's a Friday night. It's a party right. It's a Friday night. It's a party right. It's a Friday night. It's a boombox, baby. About to get a little boondock crazy. Way back on the radio dial, a fire got lit inside a bright-eyed child. Every note just wrapped around his soul. From steel guitars to Memphis, all the way to rock and roll. Oh, I can hear 'em playing. I can hear the ringing of a beat-up guitar. Oh, I can hear 'em singing. Keep on dreaming, even if it breaks your heart. Downtown is where I used to wander.
when we spent that week wide open, upside down beside the ocean. I didn't know where it was going, just trying to keep my heart on the tracks. I should have known that kind of feeling would last longer than that week did. Blown away and barely breathing. Sunday came and it was over. Now she's got me twisted like an old beach roller coaster. The rest of those days turned into long crazy nights. When the music got loud, we'd sneak away from the crowd under the boardwalk lights. With all the things we said, what I just can't get past is the way we let it in. Now I'm wondering where she is, knowing I can't get that goodbye back. We spent that week wide open, upside down beside the ocean. I didn't know where it was going, just trying to keep my heart on the tracks. I should have known that kind of feeling would last longer than that week did. Blown away and barely breathing. When Sunday came and it was over, now she's got me twisted like an old beach roller coaster. She's like a song playing over and over in my mind, where I still hold her. I had a chance and I should have told her. When we spent that week wide open, upside down beside the ocean, I should have known where it was going, still trying to keep my heart on the tracks. And I should have known that kind of feeling would last longer than that week did. Blown away and barely breathing. When Sunday came and it was over, now she's got me twisted. Yeah, I'm still twisted like that old beach roller coaster. Like that old beach roller coaster.
She had a shiny little Beamer with the rack top down, sitting in the drive, but she wouldn't get out. Dogs were all barking and wagging around, and I just laughed and said, "You all get in." She had on a new dress and she curled her hair. She was looking too good not to go somewhere. Said, "What you wanna do, baby? I don't care. We can go to the show, we can stay right here, and I can take you for a ride on my big green tractor. We can go slow, make it go faster, down through the woods, out to the pasture. Long as I'm with you, really don't mind. Climb up in my lap and drive if you want to. Girl, you know you got me to hold on to. We can go to town, but baby, if you'd rather, I'll take you for a ride on my big green tractor. Said we can fire it up and I can show you around. Sit up on the hill and watch the sun go down. When the fireflies are dancing and the moon comes out, we can turn on the lights and head back to the house. as I'm with you. It really don't matter. Climb up in my lap and drive if you want to. Girl, you know you got me to hold on to. We can go to town. Baby, if you'd rather, I'll take you for a ride on my big green tractor. Just let me dust off the seat on my big green tractor. I'll put your pretty little arms around me. Climb up in my lap and drive if you want to. Girl, you know you got me to hold on to. We can go to town. Baby, if you'd rather, I'll take you for a ride on my big green tractor. We can go to town. We can go another round. On my big green tractor. On my big green tractor. On my big green tractor.
We say goodbye, see you around. We turn our backs, then turn back around. We break up, we make up, and we make love. We can't seem to let go, girl, so I'm coming over. Running every red light to hell with a closure. Save it for another time. Try not to think about you, but it ain't working. Why put out a fire when it's still burning? Just when I think moving on's getting closer, I'm coming over. I'm all alone, but you're on my phone, telling me you miss me and that you're at home. Who knows what we are in the morning? All I know is I want you, so I'm coming over. Running every red light to hell with a closure. Save it for another time. Try not to think about you, but it ain't working. Why put out a fire when it's still burning? Just when I think moving on's getting closer. Darling, I know that it's late, but you already know I'm on my way. I'm coming over, running every red light to hell with a closure. Save it for another time. Try not to think about you, but it ain't working. Why put out a fire that's burning? I'm coming over, running every red light to hell with a closure. Save it for another time. Try not to think about you, but it ain't working. Why put out a fire when it's still burning? Just when I think moving on's getting closer, I'm coming over.
keep spinning, and yes, I'll turn myself into a solitary man. Ain't like I'm the only one that's in the shoes that I am. At the sound of a lonely calling, do you hear that? It's where I'm at. Teardrops falling down. Overrated, but I don't like throwing it away. I know you could probably tell me right where I went wrong. Some guys can't have all the luck if others don't sing sad songs. At the sound of a lonely calling. Crashing down. Oh, yeah. At the sound of a lonely calling. Do you hear that? That's where I'm at. Teardrops falling
I don't know if you were looking at me or not. You probably smile like that all the time. I don't mean to bother you, but I couldn't just walk by. I don't know if you were looking at me or not. And not say hi. And I know your names. Everybody in here knows your name. You're not looking for anything right now, so I don't wanna come on strong. Don't get me wrong, your eyes are so intimidating. My heart is pounding, but it's just a conversation. No, girl, I'm not wasted. You don't know me, I don't know you, but I want to. I don't wanna steal your freedom, I don't wanna change your mind. I don't have to make you love me, I just wanna take your time. I don't wanna wreck your Friday, I ain't gonna waste my life. I don't have to take your heart, I just wanna take your time. I know it starts with hello, and the next thing you know, you try to be nice, and some guys getting too close, trying to pick you up, trying to get you drunk. And I'm sure one of your friends is about to come over here, cause she's supposed to save you from random guys that talk too much and wanna stay too long. It's the same old song and dance, but I think you know it well. You could've rolled your eyes, told me to go to hell, could've walked away, but you're still here, and I'm still here. Come on, let's see where it goes. I don't wanna steal your freedom, I don't wanna change your mind. I don't have to make you love me, I just wanna take your time. I don't have to that's your mother. We don't have to cross that line. I don't want to steal your colors. I just want to take your time. I don't wanna go home with you. I just wanna be alone with you. I don't wanna steal your freedom. I don't wanna change your mind. I don't have to make you love me. I just wanna take your time. I don't wanna blow your phone up. I just wanna blow your mind. I don't have to take your heart. I just wanna take your time. No, I ain't gotta call you baby. And I ain't gotta call you mine. I don't have to take your heart. I just wanna take your time.
Rebecca Bradley earned respect the hard way through 20 years in court. She's diligent. She understands the role of a judge in our constitutional democracy.
Justice Bradley brings experience and knowledge that other candidates can't even come close to.
I'm Justice Bradley. In 20 years as a lawyer, judge, and justice, I've abided by a few core principles. Be tough but fair and protect our Constitution. I'm asking for your vote on Tuesday, February 16th. Paid for by Citizens for Justice Rebecca Bradley.
There are plenty of auto show specials going on, but there is only one 5-star auto show sales event at Acura of Brookfield. This is your once-a-year chance for incredible auto show savings on a new Acura ILX, TLX, RDX, or MDX. This is all awarded with a 5-star safety rating. Right now, you can take advantage of special auto show finance and lease specials. The one and only 5-star auto show sales event, only at Acura of Brookfield. 191st and Blue Mound, or online at AcuraBrookfield.com. Only at Acura of Brookfield. 191st and Blue Mound, or online at AcuraBrookfield.com.
I'll never settle down. That's what I always thought. Yeah, I was that kind of man. Just ask anyone. I don't dance, but here I am, spinning you round and round in circles. It ain't my style, but I don't care. I'd do anything, anywhere. Guess you got me in the palm of your hand, 'cause I don't dance. Love's never come my way. I've never been this far. 'Cause you took these two left feet this far and waltzed away with my heart. No, I don't dance, but
style, but I don't care. I'd do anything with you anywhere. Yes, you got me in the palm of your hand, girl. 'Cause I don't dance. No, I don't. I don't dance, but here I am, spinning you round and round in circles. It ain't my style, but I don't care. I'll do anything with you anywhere. Oh, I don't dance, but here I am, spinning you round and around in circles. It ain't my style, but I don't care. I'd do anything with you anywhere. Yeah, you got me in the palm of your hand, girl. 'Cause I don't dance. Don't dance.
Ladies and gentlemen, the board is returning from closed session to open session. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please rise.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now for those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we will have a moment of silence. This is a public meeting of the Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public last Friday by posting the agenda at each district school, the district office, and the city library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Journal Sentinel, the Waukesha Freeman, and the New Berlin Now, all of which have filed requests for all public notices. And as there's no one in the room, I'm assuming we have no request for privilege of the floor. I do not have a president's message either this evening. I had one prepared, but since nobody's here, I'm going to keep it to myself. We have the next item on the agenda is the administrative team report.
Yep, and we'll start off with update from our Director of Instruction, Mary Washbush, who has some updates about our most recent and upcoming professional learning time with our staff.
Good evening. We just want to take a couple minutes to recap for you how our module-based professional learning day in January went and what we learned from that experience with our staff. So in January, we did a first ever. We had a module-based learning day for our teachers and for our staff. And our teachers had several different modules that they had to complete by January 18th. And then they had that day to use as they wished. And we had a lot of teachers that were in the buildings working together collaboratively, working on grades, doing all different kinds of things. There was some mandatory training, things like our bloodborne pathogens training that we go through every year, things like our mandatory reporting training that we have to go through every year. And then there were 3 units from teaching and learning that were based around strategies and learning that we wanted our teachers to have as part of their skill set. That was a digital citizenship module, a module on the 4 C's, and then a module on strategies to meet learner needs. Of those modules, we had more than 99%, not quite 100% of our staff complete those prior to the professional learning day. The few people that did not complete on that day had a place that they went in the Ike Learning Commons, and they had time to finish up those modules. By the end of the day, we had everyone completed with that learning. The learning was quite robust. And we got a lot of feedback from our staff around what that learning meant for them. We did survey data and we collected feedback on each one of the modules that was completed, as well as what teachers thought about doing module-based learning and what were the other things that they really thought we should focus on as a district. And so in order to help analyze those comments, I created a word cloud that sort of brought to the front those overarching themes and ideas. And if you look, some of the things that are up there that were overarching were information, students, time, learning, module. There are some things that were up there that we had to dig into a little bit more. One of the things that's fairly small up there is confusing and difficult. And so we dug into the comments from our teachers around what was confusing with module-based learning and what was difficult around the module-based learning to help us plan forward and look at how we could do module-based learning differently and better, because we know that we're going to have module-based learning days next year in our calendar. And so what we found from digging through the comments and debriefing with Caroline Habig, Kelly Kwiatkowski, Eileen Depka, Dave and Amanda, all the other directors, we found that we needed to do some things a little bit differently. One of the things that we need to do differently is release all of the requirements at one time. For our January date, we released some of the mandatory training first, and then we did the teaching and learning training afterwards. And some of the feedback was we really wanted all that information at the same time. So planning forward, that's what we'll do in the future. We also received feedback that providing teachers with a checklist of what those items are that they need to complete would be very helpful. And so we have an upcoming professional learning day, and we're doing some of our learning in Haiku, our learning management system. We've created a checklist of what the tasks are that teachers have to complete both on February 15th and between February 16th and April 14th, which is our next professional learning day. And then the other thing that we receive lots of feedback on is having a self-check for completion, so that teachers knew when they had completed out all of those tasks. So that's another something that we're looking at putting in place for our module-based learning days in the future. So that was our learning. And the feedback that we've gotten, as I said, was very robust and really very positive. I think one of the things that was most positive is just seeing the number of teachers that were in the building that day and collaborating around student learning and doing things that they needed to do, knowing that they had already done all of the required modules. So that was really a fantastic thing that we found. And so that's my report and update for you on our module-based learning day. Are there any questions?
No. Thank you.
Okay.
I think one of the things that our staff members like is the flexibility to kind of learn on their own time, and to also, you know, kind of have the opportunity to focus on certain things, you know, just kind of spread it out as needed, as opposed to, you know, you have to show up this day and do it at this time. Again, I think the flexibility is important. And one of the things that we did assure staff upcoming is, you know, the board approved the updated calendar for next year with a few more flexible learning days involved, is that we're going to try and get the majority of these modules out actually as soon as, hopefully no later than just after the current school year. So that if people need to work over, you know, with some of the things over the summer, and or also providing more self-driven options. So the ones that we did provide were, you know, all required, but to provide actually opportunities for staff to kind of drive their own learning based on what they think their needs are. So again, that was based on, you know, feedback that we received as we were leading up to the approval of the calendar that the board took action on last month. So without further ado, you have your student rep update from Hannah from West here.
Hi everyone. This was a really exciting weekend for New Berlin West. We had our New Berlin West Palms team finish third at state in hip hop, so they're extremely excited. It was 3rd out of 13. They went last year for the first time and they didn't even place, and so this year is such an exciting thing, definitely for the seniors. So with that also is that the boys swim team, they placed 4th at the conference meet, and the JV team took 3rd, so that's really exciting, and it's really exciting to see what they're gonna do next week at sectionals, and hopefully they'll have a couple boys going to state this year as well. Our forensics team has started off their season pretty well. They had at their first tournament 6 finalists, 2 in the top 3, and then this last tournament they had 3 finalists as well. So they have a lot of tournaments coming up, and because I'm on the team, you're probably gonna hear that a little bit more. Also, our theater program is putting on Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which is one of my favorite musicals. Yeah, it was amazing. I completely recommend it. It will be showing again this Friday at 7, Saturday at 7, and Sunday at 2. So it's one of my favorite musicals, and they did a great job. So, and also upcoming tomorrow night we have our Ike West game again. The girls team has been playing really well. They only have 3 losses in conference, and so we're really excited. Hopefully they're gonna have another great postseason like they did last year, and that will make the game even tougher tomorrow night. And even more importantly, tomorrow's night's game is about Miss Hoffman. She was one of our facility directors and worked a lot with the students. She was one of the people that ran New Berlin West. She was always one of the biggest smiling faces in the office, and it's really exciting to see our school getting behind her now that she's been diagnosed with breast cancer. And tomorrow night will be everyone showing support, both schools, which is an amazing thing. So. And then also we'll have a blood drive coming up February 24th, and so there'll be signups online. We're gonna be sending out onto our famous Concerned Citizens page, so all of you that follow it will be able to find it. And also we'll be having our dodgeball tournament February 29th. So we have a lot of upcoming things and a lot of exciting things going on at New Berlin West. Thank you.
I did also want to just briefly, while Hannah's kind of got the stage, want to thank Hannah for being quite a representative on behalf of the school board, also the school district, and as well as students here at West and the staff here at West. I know sometimes folks can get quite negative when the chips are down, and sometimes we forget that there are actually kids and staff that try and make the best of things while, you know, here at the school district and particularly at West. And so just want to thank you, Hannah, for being an incredible representative on behalf of the student body, the staff here, and then also on behalf of the board too. So thank you.
It's probably the most adult thing written on there in a while.
I don't know, some of those barbecue recommendations are pretty adult all the time.
And you're absolutely right, Joseph and the amazing they did an outstanding job.
Yeah, I love that they have a bunch of elementary school choir students too. It's awesome seeing everyone work together, so.
And Joseph can sing, so if you haven't seen it, you should. Thank you, Hannah. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any items that should be pulled out for separate consideration? If not, do I have a motion on the consent agenda? Motion by Mr. Kurth, second by Mrs. Manley. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. This brings us to our regular agenda. The first item being discussion with possible approval of the School District of New Berlin's participation in the National Insurance Service 2016 Life Insurance Consortium. Mr. Garza, can you tee that up for us?
Yeah, so we have the opportunity to shop around. Unfortunately, we have several retirees, and it's a benefit that's no longer offered to current employees, and hasn't been for a while, that have the benefit of having life insurance for their lifetime. As we understand it, if we stay with our current carrier, we're looking at costs, to be approximately 30% increases on roughly $140,000. So as we've made this commitment, and the commitment that was made by
many
board members much previous to this one here, we're coming to you because we believe that joining a consortium would allow us to mitigate that 30% increase. Now, while I'd love to be able to say to you, we're looking at reducing the potential costs of this. Unfortunately, I think even if we just, stayed at zero, that would be a win. But obviously, we're hoping for better than that. But the way that it works is if you join a consortium, you're now talking about sharing out the breadth of the lives that need to be insured. So that's kind of what we're looking for here. While we are looking at a suggested and recommended 3-year commitment with this consortium, as I understand it, we can bow out as needed. That I think it's a commitment by consent, but that, if for some reason we end up finding out that, you're into the second year and now they're raising our costs at the 30% that we're being quoted now, then that's something that we'll bring back to the board either in the second and or third year. Again, I would also ask that, once we actually do go to this consortium, to find out, what exactly our costs will be. And I'll ask Mr. Dixon to come back and fill us in as to what that actually ends up being as we enter into this new realm.
Do I have a motion so we can begin discussion?
Mr. President, I move to approve the School District of New Berlin's participation in the National Insurance Services 2016 Life Insurance Consortium. Second.
Motion by Mr. Kugler, second by Mr. Kurth. Is there any discussion? Susan?
Yeah, right. Joe, thank you for explaining that, because it is one of those painful expenses that will remain with us, and certainly well-intended at the time, but becomes very difficult to afford, especially knowing it only will go higher. I don't think there's any opportunity for that to change, at least in the near future. So, Roger, if you could come back and let us know what it does end up being, and then if we could just do an annual update. Again, the expectation is it's going to go up. I don't think we're looking for it not to, but to make sure that that awareness
Absolutely
remains. Thank you.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is a first read of a modification to policy
3240.
3240, post-employment benefits. As a first read, we'll take no action, but this is one that we have heard for the last several meetings and made some revisions to. I guess, Roger, can you tee those up for us?
These policy changes are a matter of just modifying the existing post-employment policy, which I want to emphasize. These are available only to a small group of employees that were grandfathered several years ago by the board when Act 10 was adopted. The benefit is to, basically the policy is just changing from the two-tier structure we used to have, single family, to a three-tier structure, which is single plus one in family. The net result of this is intended to save money on the maximum end of the reimbursement by recognizing that the single plus one is a lesser cost than the family cost. And that's the most common benefit plan that retirees will go into.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Hearing none. If anything does arise, please bring that to Joe or Roger between now and our next meeting, where we'll have it on the agenda as a second read. Next item on the agenda is discussion with possible approval, joint service agreement with Elmbrook for services for severely disabled children.
So just like in other instances where we don't have either the facilities or the resources, we partner with either the local CISA, CISA 1 or other school districts. And why we're here is to have you approve the 6603 agreement that we have with the Elmbrook School District for services for severely disabled children. And again, while these are expensive costs, they're just costs that we currently don't have the resources for internally. When we say that it's human resource and or programs or facilities and or things to support this need. So it's not new. We do know that the amount of the agreement has continued to be less and less from year to year, but because we still have the need based on the caseloads that we have, we are seeking your approval for this agreement at this time.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the joint services agreement with Elmbrook for services for severely disabled children as presented.
Motion by Mr. David, second by Mr. Kurth. Any discussion? Susan.
I just have a quick question, and I know this comes up, so I'm sure I've asked this in the past as well, but as far as from a state perspective, is there any discussion about, because of the cost significant and how it can impact a school district, for additional state funding in this particular area? Has that ever been teed up?
I do know. Go ahead, Roger.
There is both a federal and a state high-cost reimbursement program. Every year we do make application for that. The difficulty is that has to be a very high cost, and we do pay a certain portion of the cost of this particular program from our already existing federal funds. So whenever we're eligible for it, we will certainly pursue it.
So we normally recoup something, is what you're saying? We normally do get some type of
Yes.
offset?
Yeah, we normally are using federal funds for it, so it doesn't get into the high cost area because that's a deductible.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And again, we still get the normal allocations to support, special ed, which, Roger, what is that, 25 to 24% reimbursement now?
Yeah, we have the 24% state reimbursement, and then this is another aid above that for high cost, anything when the cost is over $30,000 a pupil.
Okay, thank you.
And then there are other programs like Medicaid and so on too that also kind of factor in that could be revenue, but at the same time, probably not in this case.
Sure, and I understand, critical. I just wondered if there was other state involvement.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
Opportunity, thank you.
Opportunity, good point.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I do have a motion and a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. There are Several items from closed session. Do I have a motion?
I have one, move to approve the employment services report as presented.
Motion by Mrs. Manley, second by Mr. Kurth, and I've been corrected. There is only one item from closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Future meetings and dates. We will have a board meeting here on Monday, February 22nd. The New Berlin, Discover New Berlin Community Fair will be held on Saturday, March 12th, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Here in New Berlin West in the Field House. There will be a board meeting the Monday following on March 14th that will be here in the Idea Center. And spring break this year will be from March 25th through April 3rd. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Mrs. Manley, second by Mr. Kugler. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. This meeting is adjourned.